Good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's meeting of the Planning and Development Board. Agenda item number 1 is the evacuation procedure. As usual, we are not anticipating any fire alarm tests, so if the alarm does sound, it's likely to be a genuine emergency. If that happens, please leave the building by the nearest safest exit, which is likely to be that door, and go to assembly point G on the car park, which is straight outside those windows, and stay there until tonight's proper officer says it is safe to do otherwise. As you'll be aware, when you entered the building, we have a register of people who are in the building, which we are required to have for the fire brigade, so that they know whether they've got to go and find somebody. So if you wish to go, please make sure that the prop officer knows you're not here, so the firemen don't risk their lives going into what could be a burning building. Agenda item number 2 is apologies for absence or members away on official business. And just lost my paper, but we have apologies from Councillor Wiley and Councillor Bates, Councillor Gosling and Councillor Hobley. Are you happy to note those absences, members?
Yeah.
Just as something that's unusual, Councillor O'Phillips is attending as a substitute for Councillor Gosling. Welcome back, Councillor. Does anyone have any disclosable pecuniary or non-pecuniary interest?
I've got an interest in the Polesworth Group, Chair, because it's non-pecuniary.
Thank you. Thank you. Agenda item number 4 is the minutes of the meeting held on the 6th of January. Are you all happy that I signed them as a true and accurate record? Thank you, sir. Members, there are 2 particular applications that we need to make a determination on this evening. One for the Myra application and one for the appeal in respect of the Longley Solar Farm site. Given the importance of those 2 items and the interest from members of the public, I'd like to bring both of those forward, and then after that go on to the rest of the agenda. I think if you are happy with that, we'll deal with application number 423 for land to the south of Watling Street, Caldecote first. And
agenda item 5, the Baltic neighbourhood plan.
Yeah, because I was going to do that after.
Oh, okay, sorry.
And then after that, we can deal with
Yeah.
application number 71 for land 800 metres south of Parkhouse Farm, Mowden Road, Longley. Are you all okay with that, Jonas? So, given that, then we'll move straight on to application number 423 for land to the south of Watling Street, Caldecote. We have 2 speakers, the first of which is Mark Simpson. Mr. Simpson, if you take the chair while Mr. Brown introduces his report. Mr. Brown.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. The members will have had a couple of updates on this since the report was first published at the end a few days ago. The report that was published is included in the papers. A supplementary report went around on Friday afternoon, and then a further supplementary was circulated late this afternoon, or mid-afternoon. Members, I believe, have copies, particularly of this afternoon's supplementary report in front of them. I'm not going to go through slides, Mr. Chairman, or to run through the background to this. I'll just update members as to where we are in terms of the supplementary. Members will recall that we had an objection from a business in Drayton Lane, and 2 things arose as a result of that. Firstly, the objector considered that the assessment that National Highways had made on the applicant's proposals at Drayton Lane were flawed, in the sense that they considered that the proposals at Drayton Lane and Woodford Lane separately and not together, and that he put forward an alternative option which he felt could be considered. National Highways was asked by us to reevaluate or review the situation in respect, their response in respect of the applicant's proposals. And you will see from the second supplementary report, the shorter one that was circulated this afternoon, that National Highways now have said, and I'm going to say there in quotes, rigorously reviewed the information submitted by the applicant and are content with their proposals. And as such, as I say in the report, Mr. Chairman, from a planning context, this confirms there will be no highway reason for refusal to be recommended for the applicant's proposals, and that is the traffic lights at Woodford Lane and the restrictions at Drayton Lane. As a consequence of that, there is no need, the applicant has confirmed that he is not going to amend his proposals any further. He's going to stick with what has been submitted and what the National Highways have said. As a consequence, the objectives alternative option is no longer part of the proposal, and therefore it does not fall to be considered by this particular committee. So therefore, Mr. Chairman, in light of the National Highways comments, the recommendation, the final recommendation that I'm making to you is the bottom of the page of that supplementary report, that Planning Commission be granted, that is with the traffic lights at Woodford Lane and the traffic restrictions at Drayton Lane, in connection and in association with the conditions attached to the January 2025 board, and also to the completion of a Section 106 agreement based on the matters also included in the officer's report at that particular meeting, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Members, you see on your desks you have a fairly heavy supplementary report and a somewhat lighter supplementary report. Can I just check that you've all got the reports and you've had the opportunity to read them? Or if not, we can adjourn for a little while to give you the opportunity to do so. You all okay that we progress? You've seen them and read them?
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Mr. Simpson, welcome back. You still got a fantastic name.
I was named after you.
In case you've forgotten, my colleague will now explain the rules on public speaking.
Good afternoon. You have 3 minutes to speak. I'll remind you at the 2-minute marker. I will stop the clock when you start speaking.
Ladies and gentlemen, since the last board meeting, our transport consultant has drawn up a workable solution to signalise both Woodford Lane and Drayton Lane junctions together. This shows that it is unnecessary to increase the separation between the two junctions as was originally thought, meaning that traffic lights can be positioned at the existing junction locations. This new proposal creates no further hold-ups on the A5, nor does it impact safety or queuing. The proposal alleviates the need to block the right turns in and out of Drayton Lane, ensuring that there is not an unreasonable impact on our business. In stark contrast, the applicant's proposal for the A5 will significantly increase travel distance for 75% of our market. In total, it would add nearly 5,000 kilometres per week, or nearly 80 hours per week to customer journeys. The remaining 25% of customers may not have longer journeys, but will be diverted along a convoluted route through narrow village roads to get to us. For a self-storage business, distance and accessibility are the primary factors in a customer decision on whether to store with us. These highway changes will have a severe and damaging impact on our business. Instead of merely objecting, we have taken proactive steps, investing time and money into developing a workable alternative. This is not an attempt to improve access beyond what we have. Its purpose is to simply retain the access we have always relied on. Full access in both directions is planned to be maintained at Woodford Lane to the east and Kennel Lane Witherley to the west. We are asking for the same at Drayton Lane. We hope that the applicant will acknowledge our concerns as they have done for Caldicott. However, despite our efforts to find a solution, they have not engaged with us since the last meeting. In fact, there have been no direct communication since 2023. The applicant seems to think that a family business like ours doesn't matter. And if we go bankrupt after 20 years of hard work and investment, is an acceptable cost for their expansion. This is precisely why paragraph 200 of the NPPF exists, to protect established businesses from unreasonable restrictions imposed by later development. As set out in the National Highways email to North Warwickshire Council at midday today, National Highways have not had the necessary time to assess our scheme. Traffic modelling is a detailed matter, but none of our concerns raised by the applicant about our model would materially affect the principle of the scheme we are proposing. We have put forward a fair and practical solution that will work, resolves our objection and will allow the development to proceed. This late intervention represents an extremely unfair and unreasonable planning process. We therefore request that the board defers this application until the next meeting to allow National Highways and the other highways authorities time to properly assess what is a reasonable alternative solution that does not have a severe and damaging impact on our business. We have not asked or wanted to be in this objective position. We are only trying to keep our business viable and operational for our employees and the 2,000 homes and businesses that rely on us. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Mr Simpson. Members, do you have any questions for our speaker? Okay, thank you very much indeed. Our next speaker is Mr Andy MacDonald, who will be assisted by Mr Warner. Good evening. Thank you, Jeff. I'm not sure who is speaking. Did I get it right that it's you, Mr MacDonald, or is it Mr Warren?
I'm going to start. Graham will continue.
Thank you.
Okay. Within the 3 minutes.
Welcome back to the Council House.
Thank you.
We'll, for a change, my colleague will explain the rules on public engagement.
Good evening. You've got 3 minutes to share between yourselves. I'll remind you at the 2-minute marker, and I'll start the clock when you start speaking.
Good evening. Without repeating my statement at the January meeting, I would like to highlight a number of key points to the members. The proposals submitted in August 2022 and subsequent addendum are the result of extensive consultation and liaison with the highways authorities, which have considered a number of options before reaching the design now agreed. All options have been robustly tested, and we have challenged the highways authorities throughout to achieve the final wider highways mitigation. The objectors' claim on the impact of customer visits to their facility is inflated by over 30 times greater than the actual data they themselves surveyed in 2023 and submitted in support of their own application to Hinkley Council. Their latest response is clearly a contrived attempt to delay further and without substance. As we have shown, the impact on their business is not unreasonable, so there is no need to consider alternative access designs for the junction. I cannot overstate the impact of continued delay on the development. We are in a window of unprecedented technological change, which is driving inward investment and the growth of the MIRA cluster. This window will not remain open indefinitely, and the opportunity to deliver on the government's identification of MIRA South as a key UK economic growth location must be progressed. We therefore firmly believe there is now sufficient information for the Council to make a decision this evening.
Notwithstanding Andy's points, we have had Milestone, our transport consultants, review the prospect of leaving the Drayton Lane junction as is or providing signals. The leaving of the junction as is wouldn't work because signals at Woodford Lane would lead to queuing in front of the junction and make right turns hazardous. It would lead to cars crossing carriageways at the same time as requiring focus on the traffic lights at Woodford Lane. Westbound traffic pulling out of Drayton Lane would travel into accelerating traffic from the lights at Woodford Lane. The signalised junction wouldn't work either because 2 sets of stoplights in close proximity would lead to queuing and congestion along the A5. Tweaks were considered to the signals to avoid the queuing between the junctions, but this in turn reduced the green light time on the A5, pushing back the congestion along the A5 and creating severe impact on its operation. Likewise, a single set of signals controlling both Woodford Lane and Drayton Lane would also reduce green light time for the A5 users. We know the objector has put forward proposals, but we have issues with the modelling which they've used to support that, which we've provided to the planning officer. In addition, the signalised junction would also go against the position of the Parish Council of Fenny Drayton and Leicestershire County Council, which concluded that such a junction would continue to encourage rat running through Fenny Drayton Village, contrary to the aspirations to get more local traffic using the most appropriate routes in order to provide better traffic
3
management.
minutes are up.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Members, do you have any questions for our speaker? Just one from me. Given what you were saying goes to the heart of the issue, is there anything else you want to tell us about the traffic issues that you were talking about? Or had you finished?
I had finished, but the reasons for why we are sticking with the proposals is that a signalised junction was our original proposal, and we were discussing those proposals for a good 8 months with the highways authorities and challenging them, because we don't want to change the application. It would, it causes us delay every time we have to change the application. So we really did investigate the possibility of having 2 signalised junctions at Woodford Lane and Drayton Lane, and it didn't work. And that's the reason for why the highways authorities now are saying that we just can't find a solution which would allow that to happen.
Thank you. Members, anything? In which case, gentlemen, thank you both very much. We've had a request from one of the speakers for a further deferment. Could you give us any legal guidance as to how we go? Are we okay to determine the application, or should we look at it?
Officer recommendation should be considered first
Mhm.
in light of the officer report, and then any alternatives.
Thank you. Members, who would like to speak first?
Move the recommendation, Chair.
Thank you.
Seconded.
Seconded. Thank you very much. Any other comments, members? I know this has been before all of us a number of times, so I'm sure you're all aware of the issues. Okay, if there are no further speakers, the proposal has been proposed and seconded for approval. For the avoidance of any doubt, the recommendation is as set out on the last supplementary report. The planning permission be granted subject to the conditions as already reported to the January 25 meeting of the board, and subject to the completion of the section 1 of this agreement based on matters included in the officer report to the same meeting. I see those in favour. And those against. That's unanimous, and consent is granted in line with the recommendation. If anyone would like to go home, you're more than welcome. You don't have to stay with us for the rest of the meeting. Members, we're now going to move to application number 72 for land 800 metres south of Parkhouse Farm, Mowden Road, Trelawney. We don't have any speakers on this issue. Mr. Brown, would you like to introduce your report?
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Apologies, but there's another supplementary report which members received before the weekend, circulated on Friday afternoon. The initial published report indicated where we were, and that I was waiting for the government's planning policy guidance notes in respect of the Greenbelt. That had not arrived by the weekend, and therefore the supplementary report that's now in front of you does refer to that absence, but the comments remain the same. We still not have had the PPG published from the government, and we're still waiting for that. The key consideration here is outlined, as you can see in the report. There's been a material change in circumstance with the publication of the NPPF back in December, with the introduction of grey belt. Now, the definition of grey belt is outlined in the report, and also the subsequent paragraphs outline what the NPPF says about grey belt, and whether or not development that might be on grey belt land is still appropriate or inappropriate development in the green belt. I've gone through that for you, and I've made a conclusion, as you can see. I followed the sequence which is set out in the NPPF. It is our view that this land is grey belt land, but on the other hand, it does not comply with all the conditions set out in the NPPF. Therefore, this is still inappropriate development, and the recommendation to you, Mr. Chairman, is that the Council's position in respect to this appeal does not change.
Thank you. Members, as this is to a large extent an issue which is in flux and is not settled law, But I mean, pretty much clear where the government wants to go and where the NPPF is. I think it's important that we have some legal guidance and a comment on a revised recommendation. Would you like to guide the board?
Thank you, Chair. Recommendations is, in light of the updated NPPF of December 2024, the Council's position is that purpose C of including land within the green belt, as defined in paragraph 143 of the NPPF, continues to apply, and thus the Council's position in respect of this appeal remains unchanged.
Thank you. As Mr. Brown advised members, there is a supplementary report on your desk. Can I just check you've all had a chance to read it, or would you like a deferment to give you the opportunity to further consider it?
I've read mine.
Okay, thank you, members. Over to you. Who'd like to start the discussion? Or any proposals?
Move the recommendation, Chair.
Thank you very much. And a seconder? Councillor Bell. If there's no further discussion, and again, members, I'm genuinely clear that this has been aired a number of times as an issue before the board, so I'm sure you're all aware of the matter. Just to remind you, the revised recommendation is, in light of the updated NPPF of December 2024, the Council's position is that purpose C of including land within the green belt, as defined in paragraph 143 of the NPPF, continues to apply, and thus the Council's position in respect of this appeal remains unchanged. That's been proposed and seconded. Can I see those in favour of that recommendation? Found any against? That's unanimous. Thank you very much. Thank you, members. We'll now go back to the printed agenda, to agenda item number 5, the submission of the Polesworth neighbourhood plan for referendum. Mr. Brown.
I've nothing further to add to the report, Mr. Chairman, apart from indicating to members that a corrected version of the plan, it should be with them on their desks. It was sent through by email the end of last week. But it doesn't change the thrust of the report, Mr. Chairman, or indeed the recommendation.
Can I just check, members, you all got it? It's another sort of light document, but this time in colour. So well worth the opportunity to look at it. Members, any comments or questions on the report and the revised neighbourhood plan? Councillor Hayfield.
It's always good to see these coming forward. They're a testament to the huge amount of work that goes on locally to produce it. My concern is what my concern's been for the last 20 odd years when we've been producing these things, is what happens to them when they sit on a shelf and gather dust. I see that sometimes they're referred to in planning applications, that the local plan says this or that, particularly when it's helpful to the direction that we want to go into. But these parish plans also consist of ambitions of the towns and parishes that produce them. And I'm not sure how much help we give to these communities to help them achieve some of these ambitions. And I'm also not clear, as the passage of years from it's been approved 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 years, what progress has been made on delivering those ambitions, and whether we've been as helpful as we could be.
Thank you. I think I saw Councillor Ridley first, and then.
Thank you, Chair. I appreciate the amount of hard work that the Polesworth Neighbourhood Plan and the people involved in it have actually committed to it. So I'd like to congratulate the team that put this together on Parish Council. I concur with what as Hayward said about the fact that they are a testament to aspirations. I think in the Dordon Neighbourhood Plan we have aspirations as an appendix to ours, and we have already achieved some of those aspirations. So that they aren't a lame duck, and the Dordon Neighbourhood Plan is borne testament to the fact that it's been used in planning applications and pushbacks. And I think the Polesworth Parish Neighbourhood Plan can only help go towards actually making the villages that people want to live in and want to be part of within the community. So that they are very, very difficult. It took a long time to do, and there's an awful lot of hard work. And of course, along with other planning tools, they have to be reviewed every 5 years. So, Councillor Parsons, I'll see you in 5 years.
I'm retiring.
But yes, in relation to aspirations, a lot of it cannot, they are as appendixes, and they cannot be put in as part of the planning document, because of course the neighbourhood plans have to be in accordance with the local plan. So yes, anything that can help communities to drive their aspirations forward in relation to planning, and as we all know, Polesworth and Dordon have got a large allocated site H4, which will change the villages forever. So those aspirations put up by communities will be very important in that case. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Parsons.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, yes, I'd like to thank Davina for her comments, because I know they are heartfelt. She's been there and done it, and has that her husband's team. I would like to also thank Councillor Hayfield for his comments, because I think they are very relevant. The neighbourhood plan is an enormous piece of work, we tried very hard in producing this plan to make it something that will be of value after the dust has settled on the shelf, as it were. There's some wonderful heritage stuff in here, which has been, carried through by Margaret Henry, who has worked, brilliantly in this. And I'd also like to thank Susan Wilson from our officers here, who has been invaluable in getting this through to this stage. We wouldn't have done it without her. So thank you, Sue. And neighbourhood plans are by their very nature a compromise. That you have to look at the legislation, you have to deal with what's there, and you produce what you can around your aspirations and the like. Both Polesworth and Dordon are acutely aware that actually, if we don't do this, if we hadn't done this, then this would have been a stick which we would have been beaten with heftily by developers, essentially. So, in one sense, we've tried to make this plan as valuable as it can be, certainly to people who may come along and look at it in the future, but we've also tried to make it valuable in preserving what we can of the nature of our communities. And all communities are changing, we know that, and they've all got to change. People love where they live, and they want to keep it as well as they can. And this is what these plans are about. And that's what we strive for here. So, yes, thank you for the kind comments.
Thank you. Councillor Derrick.
I'd just like to thank everybody that has been involved in the production of this. It's been coming for quite a long time. And I think that now it is time that this was put into the public domain and went out to referendum. So I would like to move the recommendation.
I'm pleased to say that. Councillor Bell.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, I mean, I agree with everything that's been said, and also recognise that most of the people that develop these neighbourhood plans are volunteers. And I remember well working on Hartsels, which was one of the earlier ones. It was such a tortuous process, and it seemed to go on forever with lots of iterations. I would say now that we, all the people that are involved from this side, are really now very experienced. The people who are developing it, it's the first time because they only do one. But the council have got lots of experience now of
working with people on these neighbourhood plans. And I would hope that we've taken those lessons on board and that we're trying to shorten the process as much as we can and the number of iterations by giving really good advice to the volunteers. So I would just urge our officers who work really hard on these to just try and shortcut some of it so that as we go on, it gets just that bit easier to do because they are so important. And we don't want to wear the volunteers out, you know, and because they need to take it forward then. So thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Mr Brown and colleagues, anything to?
Just a couple of comments. Obviously Sue's behind me, so Councillor Parsons, so she'll have heard what you said. Just a couple of points to come back on what Councillor Hayfield has started off. First of all, the neighbourhood plans carry full weight. They are part of the development plan. They have equal standing with the local plan. And planning applications have to be determined in accordance with the development plan, which will be the local plan plus any development neighbourhood plan, so that they carry full weight. And the Secretary of State certainly agrees with that and has done so in some of his appeal decisions. Councillor Ridley mentioned Hodgetts at Danier 5. The Dordon neighbourhood plan added weight to what we were saying as a borough council, and that was absolutely significant in that decision. And you'll remember from the Dore Mill inquiry 10 years ago, the Arley neighbourhood plan was significant in that because of one word in that plan which said that the Arley area was tranquil. And remember, we had a long discussion in the inquiry what was meant by tranquil. And that was particularly important in the inspector coming to her decision on that one. And there are other cases as well. And quite right, when you see officers' reports, you'll see neighbourhood plans referred to and the policies referred to. And the other one I will mention is Ostry, Councillor Humphreys, because that has a policy there about views in and out of the village. And they therefore become important in when a planning case officer makes a recommendation. Those are given full weight. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. I'm not sure anyone seconded your recommendation, Councillor Dervick, so I'll second it. I absolutely take on board what everyone has said. I think there is a significant amount of effort from volunteers who, I hope they don't be offended by this, but start out the process as perhaps amateur, and certainly at the end of it become very much more experienced over that time. I take to heart very much what members have said, starting with Councillor Hayfield, in terms of are we providing as much guidance and support and assistance as we can to people, particularly as a lot of these plans will be coming forward for their review. So if you're okay with this, Councillor Dirks, I'd like to add a B to it, that we have a report that comes to a future board on the process by which we assist volunteers and people who are engaging with neighbourhood plans, that we undertake some form of user satisfaction survey, or whatever the right phrase is, so we can ask the people who've been through it, how was it for them, what could have been done in a different way, and try and build up a plan for the future, which may well be, if everyone says we're doing everything we should be, that we don't change. Or alternatively, we take on board what people think and try and look to the future in a more helpful way, unless we're already doing everything that we need to.
I think that would be a really good improvement to this recommendation if we can add that so that we can build a plan to give further help in the future.
Thank you. Councillor Thompson.
Just a comment that I forgot to make, actually, Chair. Obviously, I thanked Sue. That thanks is very much deserved. But we also had a lot of help. Dorothy Barrett, actually, and I haven't mentioned Dorothy, but she did put a lot of effort into this. So I would hate to have forgotten to mention her.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other comments, members, before we have a vote? Mr. Brown, anything else? No. So it's been proposed and seconded that the recommendation as printed, and then with the addition of the review. Can I see all those in favour? And that's unanimous. Thank you very much. So the Polesworth neighbourhood plan shall now be taken forward to referendum. The next item is application number 386 for the Rectory Farm Estate, Baxley. We don't have any speakers, Mr. Brown. Was that to introduce your
Right,
report?
thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let me just run through the slides, which are replications of what you have in your papers in front of you. The reason why it's reported to you tonight is because the recommendation does not align with the County Council's consultation response. The County Council's Highway Authority raised objection. We give that weight, but not significant weight to end up with a refusal. The site there, as you can see, is in red. It's quite a large site, and as the report indicates, there are two areas. The larger area here on the southern side, and the very small area up here, which is the subject of the access. There's an existing access in here, as you can see, and the access to which the Highway Authority objects is this one here to the smaller area. I'll just run through the other slides. Here again, you can see how it's divided up in different plots. The stables, which is referred to in the report, are up here, and the hay store is down here. And the extensions to the stables is here, and the retaining wall is down there. I've got nothing further to add to the report, Mr. Chairman. The reasons why we're recommending against the Highway Authority's advice are set out in the report.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Members, any comments or questions? Anyone like to? Councillor Hayfield?
I'll move the recommendation, Chair.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Can I see all those in favour of the recommendation? Thank you. I think that's unanimous. So that's carried. The next application is number 577, land north of Park Lane Farm, Park Lane, Astley. Mr. Brown?
Again, Mr. Chairman, this application is reported to you. Just a note, a determination report will come through at the proper time in due course when all the consultations have come through. This solar farm, as you can see there, is outlined in red. The site between Arley, New Arley, which is here on the left-hand side, and Astley over here, with Nuthurst Lane coming down here. The access is off Nuthurst Lane. The arrays are set out there, as you can see, facing south, which is at the bottom of the site. I don't need to go through these particular slides, Mr. Chairman, as members are now familiar with solar farms. This one is important. The existing current application is this one here to the north, the bigger one here where I'm pointing now. We have already approved a solar farm on this site here, and that's the reason why the proposal is defined as an extension. Although the two will operate independently with separate points of communication, geographically they are next door to each other, and that's the reason why they've been described as an extension. The existing access onto Nuthurst Lane will be shared. Each will have its own infrastructure, as outlined in the report. As I say, Mr. Chairman, the report is just to note the application, and we'll be back to you with a full determination report when that's completed.
Members, any comments, questions, proposals? So it's been proposed and seconded. All those in favour? And I think that's unanimous as well. So that we've noted it. The next application is number 575 for land adjacent to Coleshill Manor of South Drive, Coleshill. Mr. Richard Gamble has indicated he'd like to speak. If you take the Speaker's chair while Mr. Brown introduces his report.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I'll just run through the slides because these are replicated from the paper agenda. The members should be familiar with the site. This is Coleshill Manor with the developments there that I think members will understand. The M6 down here, and the Coleshill roundabout will be down here, bottom right-hand corner. This long line is the access road, which comes off South Drive, which runs up to Coleshill Manor. The application site for the wall is this one here, and members will be aware that in this area, planning permission has been granted for the surfing centre, and obviously the access road will serve both. Since the approval, as you can see, the application that you have now in front of you is to vary that particular proposal. This is the outline of what was approved. The main structure, as you can see, will be here. And in fact, what happened with the approval was that the visitor centre would be within the structure itself, as you can see from these particular diagrams and the images, particularly the bottom one. The visitor centre would actually be within the structure itself. Again, that's what was approved. The indication now is to take the visitor centre out of the structure itself, to have a separate unit, a separate building. I refer to it as a boomerang building in the report, and you can see why that's the case. It's taken out. The main structure will be over here. The accommodation is the same. It's just in a different format. And the other building, which is referred to, building 1, I think it is in the report, is this one on top. And here we can see the elevations of that particular visitor centre, and you can see from the structure here on the left, it's taken out some distance a little away from the particular wall itself. The reasoning for that is all outlined in the report, Mr. Chairman. This particular proposal doesn't affect the principle of the planning application or principle of the planning commission. I've gone through the Greenbelt arguments again, Mr. Chairman, in light of the changes. There is no change. There will be a change in openness because obviously this is a new building rather than being part of an existing building. But you'll see from the report, Mr. Chairman, that I do not consider that to be of much weight. And therefore, I'm comfortable, Mr. Chairman, in recommending to you that this particular variation be approved.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. Gentlemen, welcome back to the Council House. My colleague, for a change, will explain the rules on public engagement.
Good evening. You have 3 minutes between yourselves. I will remind you at the 2-minute marker. I'll start the clock when you start speaking.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to address you this evening, and I just want to take this opportunity to give you a brief update on the progress of the project and why we think the proposed changes will help us deliver this exciting landmark for the region. The original planning permission for the wall was granted in August 2020. Just as a reminder, the project is to build a public piece of art that will create a space for people to consider prayer and spirituality in their lives. Since we've seen an outstanding response since permission was granted. 20,000 members of the public have contributed, and we've had global interest in the project with coverage from Tennessee to Tasmania. Over 125 countries have contributed stories of answered prayer, and we've had over 300 church leaders from all denominations from across the UK come and pray on the land. The positive response and donations have allowed us to formally implement the original planning permission in 23 through the construction of the site access and associated works, which is phase 1. We ourselves have now moved our offices to Coast Hill to be close to the site. Importantly, we're also able to instruct the further detailed design and engineering work to bring forward such a unique and challenging project. We've appointed one of the world's leading engineering construction companies because we're effectively building a bridge, but it effectively is a bridge that twists upside down, so it's truly unique. And we believe the uniqueness of this build is what is going to give it global attention. Reflecting these challenges, my design team undertook a thorough review of the consented scheme and explored how scheme amendments might ensure it can be delivered in an expedited manner. The key change identified was the separation of the monument and visitor amenities. Where previously they comprised a single entity, we now propose that the monument will be a standalone, pure sculptural form. Personally, I think it looks a lot better like that. And the same level and type of visitor facilities will still be provided, but in standalone buildings. An initial visitor centre will be delivered alongside the completion of the monument and a larger boomerang in phase 2. I'm delighted to announce to you tonight that we've raised all the money for the monument, and we're now continuing to raise the remaining 20% for the visitor centre, technology and landscaping. If we grant permission for the changes, we'll be able to commence the monument this year, which is amazing after nearly 20 years for me personally. And we hope second half of in the second half of 2027, we will be able to open the monument for the public. Just want to thank you for your time and your consideration and your support. And we're going to look forward to working together with you in the future.
Thank you very much. Members, any questions or comments for our speaker? Councillor Farmer?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Being a person who lives in Coleshill North as a local member and living on Grimstock Hill as I do, I'm trying to envisage as I walk down the road towards what we call Beggars Well. It's trying to see the location, exactly where it fits within the project. Forgive me, I wasn't around
That's
when
okay.
this was originally put forward to the board and the council.
Yes, so I believe that as you're coming down the roundabout towards HS2 area, that you'll be able to see the top of the arch, sort of, if you like, if you're at the roundabout, you should be able to see the top of the arch at about 2-3 o'clock as it arches over the tree line that's just down on that piece of land. So it's in between the M6 and the M42.
Right, yes, and it gives, especially with my church, St Peter's Church in Coleshill, it gives those and many other people to come along and pray in the area. Sounds very exciting. I look forward to seeing it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
And I'd like to.
Councillor Derricks, then Councillor Hinton.
Okay, I would just like to say that I was able to visit the site after these revised plans came in. Mr. Brown and I were the only people that actually were able to make that visit. But I was very impressed with the work that had already been done. And I was able to really sort of picture much better how this was going to fit into the site. I think we have to remember here that this already has planning permission. We're only talking about a variation here. And from the models that I saw and the drawings that we've got here, so I was very impressed with the work that has been done. And I really can't see any reason personally for refusing to allow these
Is this
variations.
leading to a question for the speaker?
No. I meant to say first, this is not a question, I need to be one of the first speakers, because I was going to move the recommendation.
I
but
will-
I'll
I will come back
defer
to you
it
with
until then.
alacrity.
My apologies to everybody.
Councillor Enfield, do you have a question for our speaker?
I do.
Thank you.
That's why I put my hand up. I'm interested in the projected views and things, because we look at this application for this monument and see what it might look like from here and here. And we've had high speed 2 and looked at projected views from there and what we might see from there. We're busy planting lots of trees to hide high speed 2. We don't necessarily want to hide your monument. Have you conflated the two issues in terms of what we're likely to see from where? What will Peter see from his house? What might we see from elsewhere in Coleshill or anything else?
Yeah, so I mean that's why it was really important. We thank you for passing the original planning permission, because the height of it was really important so that it wasn't obscured by the HS2 plans. So clearly our main aim is along the highway, along the motorway, that people get the clearest view as possible. We are planting a lot of trees to cover some of that as you come down the road, so you get a real impact and wow. But we've calculated that it will be seen by 6 miles away. That's what we projected on the site, and we believe 800,000 people will see it every week in terms of their journeys, whether it be HS2 or whether it's driving on the trunk roads around. And I've even tested it. You can actually see it when you're taking off from Birmingham, and you see it. So we think it's in that respect, I think it's a really visible spot, which will give us great benefits.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Farmer?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Just coming back, we talked about the amount of visitors Yes, the one thing that potentially might concern me a little bit is the amount of vehicles, etc., that may come in. So I take it most people will come via vehicle, by car, although I've seen a number of areas with coaches.
Yes, or train potentially,
Yeah.
we'll see, but I mean, we did a lot of that modelling in the planning application. And we also adjusted our opening times to the visitor centre and such like, so that we're not having, you know, Monday to Fridays, we're expecting a lot of schools and colleges. That's our aim. And then the opening times are there so that we don't have as big an impact on the local traffic.
Gentlemen, thank you very much indeed, and thank you for the update. That was very good to hear.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Derby.
Would like to move the recommendation and apologies to Councillor for delaying his comment, his question.
Thank you. Councillor Fowler.
And as the councillor for Coleshill North and the resident of Coleshill in that section, I would like to second that.
Thank you. Any other comments, members? In which case, it's been proposed and seconded that planning permission is granted. Can I see those in favour? Thank you very much, and that's unanimous. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Grant.
Can we just amend that slightly, that the amendment to the planning application is granted because it has already got planning permission on the planning, just to be clear.
We now move to.
Could I just, while they're here, any chance we can get a view before they open it to the public when it's finished?
I would have thought if you've donated to So we now move to planning application number 582 for land to the west of Marstonfield Farm, Kingsbury Road. Mr. Brown, anything to add to your report?
No, Mr. Chairman, just run through the slides. Again, this is to note, the determination report will come back when we're ready to do so. The site is outlined in red here, this long rectangle here off the Kingsbury Road. Junction 9 of the M42 is down here, and you can see that goes up. Kingsbury's up here, and you can see there that where it is. The HS2 development is here on the left, and the fisheries and Marston are on the right. And that's clearly shown on the photograph below. The site is this one. The HS2 yard is here. The M42 goes down here, Junction 9 is down here. Marston, as you can see, is here with the golf course, Lee Marston Hotel and Golf Course on the other side of the road. The layout is here. The containers would be in this area here, which is outlined in orange. They're using the existing access of Kingsbury Road, which also deals with the fisheries. This road exists at the moment, and they will come in here off that particular spur. And in terms of fencing, as members will be familiar with solar farms they've already seen, the layout there, which is basically a series of containers throughout the whole site. So, Mr. Chairman, there's nothing further to add. The application is to note, and we'll come back to you when we're ready to do so.
Thank you, Brian. Members, any comments or questions? Councillor Hayden.
I'll happily move that the report be noted, but I would like the report that comes back to go into a little bit more detail about fire risks. These batteries have a certain incendiary reputation, so I'd like to see a bit more reassurance in the future report on that fire safety.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Councillor Jarvis.
Thanks, Chair. But just like from what Councillor Hayfield said, but just to be maybe a little bit more specific with the fire service, do they have facility to fight those fires? Because as we all know, the battery fires are somewhat a unique style of fire that need a particular approach to them. So should the question that they're asked, do you have the facility to fight that type of fire?
Thank you. If you could take that on board, Mr. Brown, I am aware that I think it was Dorset, or one of the borough councils in Dorset recently deferred consideration of a similar application because of their concerns over fire and life safety. So if we could certainly build all of that into the report. Any other comments, members? In which case the report has been proposed and seconded for noting and a site visit. All those in favour? Thanks very much. That's unanimous. Application number 586 for land 400 metres west of Camp Farm, Knoll Hill, Hurley. Councillor John Given has indicated he'd like to speak. If you could take the chair while Mr Brown introduces his report. Mr Brown.
Again, Mr Chairman, this one is just a note, it's an introductory report, a further solar farm just to the west of Hurley. I know it may not be very clear on the slides, but Hurley is here, the site is here, Kingsbury's over here, and the railway line, as you can see, runs down here. So therefore, in fact, it's on Knoll Hill, which comes up from the Tamworth Road, Kingsbury Road, up into Hurley. And it's this area here. The reason why that's a straight line is because it's on the edge of the Kingsbury rifle range. The plan below shows a series of footpaths which are referred to in the report. The layout there, as you can see, and there's much referral of that in the report in terms of the landscaping which is being proposed. The one key element which I need to draw members' attention to is that originally there was to be solar panels in this field here. This is Brickkiln Lane, which runs up here, and they specifically removed the solar panels from this area here to the west of Brickkiln Lane, and that's now to become a meadow. And you can see the rest of the landscaping is around the site. The rest of the plans, Mr Chairman, members should be familiar with because they outline the infrastructure that's on the site. This is different in the sense that there is a battery energy security system actually proposed on the site itself. But you go back to the site plan, that's where it's connected to. So therefore there will be energy stored on the site before it's as well as being released into the grid. As I say, Mr Chairman, the application is just a note at the present time. And we'll be coming back to you in due course of the determination report.
Thank you, Mr Brown. Councillor Given, welcome to the Council House.
Thank you.
My colleague will brief you on the rules relating to public speaking.
Good evening. You'll have 3 minutes in total. I'll stop the clock when you start speaking, and at the 2-minute marker, I'll give you a reminder that 1 minute's outstanding.
Kingsbury Parish Council objects to the planning application for the solar farm on land adjacent to Hurley. The planning board will have also received letters of objection from other residents from within the parish. Whilst not opposed to the need for renewable energy, the parish does believe that it should not be at all costs. The scale of the proposed site at 74 hectares is hugely out of proportion to the village, which is 4 times this size. The land has been farmed since records began, and this would be lost to just grazing land. The site is surrounded by fertile arable land, including fields farmed by Lowe's Farm, famous for its potatoes. The DEFRA land classification is Grade 2. The application now claims that it's 3B, with no explanation for the change. The visual impact is especially prevalent when travelling towards Hurley along Knoll Hill. One of the key characteristics of the Greenbelt is its openness. Solar farms with their rows of panels, fencing and associated infrastructure significantly reduce the openness of the land. Diversion of footpath T561 will be detrimental to the Heart of England Way. The very open, beautiful Greenbelt farming vista now enjoyed will be lost behind overgrown hedges and the plans introduce likelihood of antisocial behaviour by approaches. The BESS is a huge industrial building in its own right. Its location within the plans is confusing at best. Also, the hookup to the national grid at Lee Marson is not included in the application. Under paragraph 147, development in the Greenbelt is deemed inappropriate unless there are very special circumstances that clearly outweigh the harm to the Greenbelt. There are no very special circumstances in Hurley. North Warwickshire local plan and many supporting documents restrict development in the Greenbelt for very good reason. I remind you there is much synergy between Hurley and Philongley. Please consider this. Hurley has experienced significant and frequent flood issues over the past few years, resulting in a number of properties flooding. The area to the southwest of the development, in particular along the big 4098 Coventry Road, has been closed several times. The access to Foul Bend Lane off Knoll Hill has also seen increased water levels, all unexplained at this time. Solar farms exacerbate local flooding problems due to changes in land use and hydrology. The construction and operation of solar farms leads to detrimental runoff that increases surface water flow and reduces the land's ability to absorb rainwater. Good farming land must be protected. Our food security is already at risk. The questionable carbon savings from solar may well be outweighed by the carbon spend on worldwide food imports. A balance must be struck between energy security and food security. This planning board has set high standards and precedents. We look for this to continue in this case. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Members, do you have any questions for our speaker?
Before I ask the speaker a question, Chair, I didn't realise we were going to, so I thought this was just for noting tonight, so I didn't declare an interest, and neither did Owen, in the fact that this was discussed at Kingsby Parish Council. It was discussed, but if you read the notes, the minutes, you'll see that we took no part in the debate and did listen to the debate. So I just wanted to make that plain, Chair.
Absolutely no problem, Councillor. I think we all understand if you didn't contribute to the debate elsewhere, then you are entirely free to contribute here.
As I say, I thought it was wise to listen to the debate, but as I say, I made sure that in the minutes it does say that we took no part. I just wondered, Jonathan, if your phone was as blocked as mine was with the amount of people ringing you up and supporting this.
Yeah, absolutely. What I can say is I didn't have one single call of anybody in favour of it. Not one single call. A lot of local farmers with many hundreds of years family-wise experience in these fields were all astounded at this grading of 3B. That is questionable, certainly, and the DEFRA mapping, the magic map, all shows it's good arable land. And if the fields adjacent to it are able to support good crops, root crops, then that means it's good land. That's the feedback that I'm getting from the farming community and from the local community. It's destroying the Heart of England footpathway. It's taking away beautiful open vistas, and it's hindering and hampering the pleasure which the parish residents are going to get from the open vistas which are currently visible.
Thank you. Any other questions, members? In which case, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Before I open the matter up for discussion, Mr. Brown, in your subsequent report, I'd be grateful if you could seek some clear clarification over the quality of the land, because I think it is material to us whether it's grade 2 or 3B.
I understand, Mr. Chairman. The report quotes the applicant's analysis, which obviously the speaker has referred to, so that will hopefully be clarified later.
Thanks very much. Members, any comments or proposals?
Just one comment, Chair, that I had contact with some local farmers who were saying the same thing as Councillor Gibbons has just said about the grading of the land. I did sort of mention it in one of our meetings, but as I say, I've got no way of proving that. Just that it was rumoured that it was a lot better grading than is actually in the report.
And I certainly remember you saying that. Councillor Fowler?
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Just to echo the words that you made, I very much welcome the report back on the gradients of the land. That'd be very helpful and very welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
With the recommendation, Chair.
Thank you. And seconder? Thank you very much. It's been proposed that the report is noted and that we have a site visit. Can I see those in favour? And that's unanimous. Thank you very much. We now move on to application 453 for Lynn Wynn Fox Green Lane over Whittaker. Anything to add to your report, Mr. Brown?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, just run through the slides again. The site is there, Fogwell's End, is this particular building within the curtilage. And these are replicated in the report for you, Mr. Chairman. The recommendations you can see is the plan commission granted subject to 106. The 106, a draft 106 undertaking has been submitted and it lies with the head of legal services at the present time. So therefore, I'm recommending, Mr. Chairman, the recommendation. The recommendation should remain the same, Mr. Chairman, but we have actually got the a draft unilateral in front of us.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Members, any questions or comments? Councillor Hayfield?
I think we have to judge the application in front of us rather than any suspicions we might have as to what might be really going on or not. I note the parish council objects, and if the parish council didn't object to absolutely everything, then the Whittaker might have more, a bit more weight to it. But I'll move the recommendation.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So it's been proposed and seconded that consent is granted. I see those in favour. Thank you very much. That's unanimous. The next application is number 686 for Kingsbury Hall, Coventry Road, Kingsbury. Mr. Brown.
Again, Mr. Chairman, the proposal is the report is for information. A significant amendment has now been submitted to this long outstanding application, and it's recorded in some detail in the report. It may not be clear on the top plan there, but Kingsbury, the site is here, Kingsbury Hall, with the access going down to the centre of Kingsbury and the northern field here, with Bromwich Avenue at the top. This, in fact, is the conservation area, and you can see that the hall is in the conservation area here, with some of the outbuildings associated with it, as referred to in the report. This is the permission that was granted 2008-2009, and as you can see, some of the outbuildings here have been retained and have been converted to residential. The hall is here, which would be converted to apartments, and the enabling development, the new development, the terrace along here, which you can see, which has been referred to in the report. The current application we have includes the land to the north. This was the original proposal for the care village, if I can call it that, with the high dependency units at the northern end, some blocks here, but the independent living units, more of a residential feel in this area here, with Kingsbury Hall and its outbuildings down here. This is the parameters plan for the new development. It's maybe easier to see that from the plan below. Now that transfers into a possible layout. It's the high dependency unit still remains at the top. Making use of the ground levels because the land here is higher than that to the north, and therefore what the applicant is saying is that a 3 or 4 story building here will only be the equivalent of a 2-story building when viewed from here. And you can see the blocks that are in here now rather than the residential field that was proposed a short while ago. And the cross sections here are included with the application. The hall here and the development, you can see the larger ones at the northern end of the site. And this is a cross section with the river here. This is the cross section through the site this way. Closest development to the river bluff would be here, which is that, and then it's all of development behind. As I said, Mr. Chairman, there's a long way to go on this application at the moment. And it's quite a detailed report, and a further very detailed report will come to you when we look at determination.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Members, any comments? I should say at this point that the local members were intended to come and speak on this item, and I explained it was simply for noting. They would very much appreciate it if the board would go and have a look at the site in advance of the determination report. Members should be aware that we have had, I think, at least 2 site visits in the past, but I am generally cognizant that time has moved on, and we have a number of new members who haven't had the chance to see it. It's like Oak Phillips, for example. I'm in your hands as to whether you would like another site visit or not. Councillor,
I mean, as speaking as a member of also as Kingsbury Parish Council, I think both the residents and the parish council would appreciate the board visiting and seeing the thing on the scale and what's proposed. And if the board's in agreement, I think that would be good.
thank you. Councillor Humphries?
Chair, I just want to, this is a massive site. I'm assuming when it says a 55 units for 55-year-olds and up, that's like a McCarthy Son type of unit within the high dependency. But this all, from when I first got on the council, this all started about enabling to do something about Kingsbury. I want to make sure whatever happens, Kingsbury actually gets enabled, the hall. We don't just end up with a massive care home and a problem site still trying to bring it back into life. So I know it's further down the line, but it needs to make sure that it becomes part of the whole project.
Thank you.
I'll second that visit.
Thank you. Mr. Brown, can you take that on board that members wish to be assured about the future use of the historic building?
Yeah.
Anything else, members? If not, it's been proposed and seconded that the report is noted and we have a site visit prior to determination. I see those in favour. Thank you very much. That's unanimous. The next application is number 546 for Wood End Recreation Ground, Johnson Street, Wood End. Mr. Brown, anything to add?
Nothing to add, Mr. Chairman. Slides there, just a replication of what's in the report in front of you.
With the recommendation.
Thank you. Members, any? Councillor Fowler?
Yes, I'm a bit cheeky here. I just wondered, we normally do say if you replace one, you normally replace one with two. Is that possibility at all through you, Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Brown?
I'll have to speak to the appropriate divisional officer, Mr. Chairman, because this is a recreation ground. There will be maybe consequences as a result of it, but I will speak to the divisional officer.
Thank you very much.
Without being sarcastic, Chair, the answer's in the name, Wood End. It is a recreation ground, and we're not sure. It's nice to have the trees. It's nice to make sure they're well looked after, and so without sort of clogging the recreation ground up. So I'm not being sarcastic, but over the years, I've had a number of people wanting to come and plant trees in Wood End, and I do say we haven't really got anywhere to put them only in the recreation ground because of, like I said, the wood is full of wood, and so we'll be grateful just of the trees are well looked after, Chair.
Does look from the site as though it's going to very much encroach into the recreation ground. It's sort of in the middle of it, isn't it?
No, it's towards the sides there, but the recreation ground is sort of farther in there. That's a sort of just along the border with the estate there.
Councillor Ridley.
Thank you, Chair. There's one similar that will be coming to board shortly, I think, in relation to a tree. It doesn't actually say how old the tree is. It doesn't actually give a description about why the subsidence is there or what the subsidence consists of. So I'm always a little bit nervous about cutting down trees when we have, certainly the board doesn't have any information on it. I understand that the arborist is comfortable with it, but I would just like a little bit more information on what the subsidence consists of, and is it actually the tree or is there some other issue? Because obviously we are all mining communities, and the ground is very prone to subsidence. So that's my take on it.
Thank you. Councillor Avery?
I have similar sympathies. I mean, the trees were presumably there before the houses, long before the houses. I'd like to see a picture of the tree now. How old? How old it is? Is it really causing the problems that are alleged? I don't like cutting down trees.
Do you have any local knowledge, Councillor? Or Councillor Phillips's?
Is that the trees? I think it's a mixture of both. Some of the trees are there before, some of the trees are after. But there has been reports of a lot of subsidence in greenhouses and all that. Things like that.
Notorious for very small foundations. Greenhouses.
That's what I've been led to believe. And a lot of slabs being moved. That's all I had.
So members, you have the opportunity to defer for more information or grant the application. Councillor.
Well, look, from my dealings with when we've had the arborologist from county do it, it doesn't chop trees willy-nilly. In fact, you have to sometimes really get into it. He doesn't, as far as I can see, perhaps it does need a bit more being reported, but he's not the sort to just chop a tree down because he wants it down.
Because he's okay.
Without, if everything's okay. It needs to be diseased.
Can I, that's it.
I'm not sure who wants to go first. Let's defer for Mr. Brown. You may have some
Brown
information.
was pointing to me.
Oh, is he?
He was.
Oh, in that case, Councillor Durley.
I would just like to comment on what's just been said, because we saved a line of trees in Coleshill by questioning whether it was right to fell them or to take some other action. So I think it is perfectly legitimate to actually ask for more information or to question, unless Mr. Brown has got further information that he can comment on.
We've ping-ponged back to you, Mr. Brown.
Apologies if there's insufficient information in the report. First of all, this is not the first tree that's been actually removed from this location. The 4 grey dots on the plan have already been trees removed as a direct result of subsidence. And then the county forester is aware of that, and he's seen the subsistence report, that the structural reports that have come in, and that's the reason why he's recommending removal of the tree. It's that, as you can see, there are 4 already taken down as a result of subsidence claims, and therefore he's following suit with this particular one, Mr. Chairman.
Sounds to me, if he's just simply following what's happened, all the more that we should have some more information now. I'm in your hands, Councillor Phillips.
Yes, thank you, Chair, for letting me come back. This is a bit of a cleft stick. I mean, as Owen said, there's some of the trees have been there for some time. Some were planted when the yeah, there's been a lot of claimed subsidy, and as I say, I've been relaxed about it because I know, as Councillor Humphrey said, how difficult it is to deal with the tree man at the county. It doesn't sort of take prisoners lightly. So it's been sort of difficult to sort of argue against that. But I've got no problem if we could have a look into it more and sort of, to use an analogy, to dig a little deeper.
Councillor Ridley?
Sorry about that.
Sorry, all the more I think it's not just one tree, it's several trees. Is this a land issue rather than a tree issue? If there's been a history of it, is it the land that's actually causing the issues rather than the trees?
So I take it from your last comments, Councillor, you're okay with a deferment if someone wishes to propose it, given that you proposed the recommendation.
Yes.
Thank you. So are you proposing deferral, or is Councillor Ridley proposing, or are you doing it together?
I think we can do it together. Just deferral would be more comfortable to sit with.
Thank you very much. So members, it's now been proposed jointly that we defer for further information, which Mr. Brown has already apologised for his failure to provide adequate detail. Can I see all those in favour? Thank you very much. That's, I think, unanimous. Thank you. We now move to application, which is a consultation, number 3, for the A46 at Walsgrave Junction in Coventry.
Second.
Let's move it because it's a 40 mile away, isn't it? So
Even though it's moved, Mr. Brown, do you have anything to say?
No,
Are you feeling moved?
As I indicated in my report, it's a long way away from North Warwickshire.
It's been moved. It's a seconder. Thank you. All those in favour? Thank you. That's unanimous. Applications number 513 and 14, Trent House, 102 Long Street, Hudderston. Mr. Brown.
Again, Mr. Chairman, just going through slides to remind members, this is the old TNT building in Long Street, situated between, as you can see here, the old post office, and it was in fact the site of the former Atherstone Rural District Council and North Warwickshire Borough Council for a while. The proposal is to convert the property, as you can see, to residential and also to demolish buildings at the rear, but to replace those with 6 terrace mews at the back. There's no objection in principle to the actual proposals, including the buildings at the rear. And you can see the heritage arguments that support that. The heritage officer agrees that less than substantial harm would be caused here, and that the residential conversion has been dealt with sympathetically. However, there have been issues with the 6 new houses at the back, particularly not the principal with their design. And you'll see from the report, Mr. Chairman, the recommendation is that, provided the board agrees in principle, it leaves the design of the 6 houses at the rear to yourself and Councillor Chairman as the council's design champions.
Thank you very much. Members? Councillor Derrick?
I'd just like to say that we went on a site visit and were able to look over the whole of this site. The front of the site is quite an important owner in the street state of Bond Street and needs to be protected. And if we approve this, I think that it will enable that to happen. The structures at the back are, to my mind, not very suitable for any modern use. It has been divided and subdivided by, I think, the previous owner and the 2 before that, which happened to be the Borough Council and the Rural District Council before them. I think this would make a very good improvement to that building. And if we can tweak the designs of what is proposed at the back of the site, i.e. the new houses, I think this is well worthy of support by the planning. I would move the recommendation.
I'd agree with you, with the exception of tweak. I think it needs a bit more than a tweak. Councillor,
trying not to be too dramatic.
No, I couldn't hear all of what Councillor Derrick says, but I suspect I'm in sympathy with him largely over this. I have no problems with the conversion of the residential of the property on the frontage, and quite often they've been butchered inside. There isn't much significant historic interest inside. But I remember seeing these plans for the buildings at the back last time. For some reason, I couldn't say what I thought I wanted to say, probably because it was just for noting or something I shouldn't commit. I just thought they were really boring. And I think Addison could do better and deserves better.
Thank you.
Those were my sentiments.
Could I just check, you know, legal eagle? I think we're all okay with both of it, but recommendation A delegates some of this in respect of the new houses to officers in consultation with the design champions. Given that there is, the authority isn't the applicant, but is actively engaged and involved with this, shouldn't that just come back to board rather than be delegated? Yeah. So if we could amend A to come back to the board, I mean, I'm perfectly happy that Councillor Phillips and I as design champions can crawl all over it, and indeed anybody else that would like to can crawl over it, but I think A should come back to the board.
I'll second that, Chair.
Any other comments, members?
Does the building get a blue pack? Because JB actually started work there for the council.
You know, earlier on, I was musing to myself before we started the meeting that Mr. Brown has been with us for 51 years now. I've been a member of this board for 33 years, so I'm catching up with you, Mr. Brown. So I think we'll take that on board and suggest to the applicant that they can have a brown plaque. It's been proposed and seconded with an alteration to recommendation A that it comes back to board. Can I see those in favour? And that's unanimous. Thank you very much. We've done the application at Watling Street. I think we've done Park House Farm. So that takes us back onto the rest of the agenda. And we move on to application number 559 for prior approval of demolition at Birchmore Road, Holsworth. Mr. Brown, anything to add to your?
Nothing to add, Mr. Chairman. The decision's already been taken, and this just informs members of that decision.
Any comments, members? No, can I see all those in favour? Thank you very much. That's unanimous. Agenda item 8 is the infrastructure funding statement. Mr. Brown.
And nothing to add, Mr. Chairman. This is an annual statement which comes out. As you can see, it follows the format it's in similar in past years, with the tables going back several years now in terms of the 106 contributions that we have. It explains that our infrastructure funding statement only relates to the monies that we can actually use. The majority of the finances that come in go off to the county council, education, health and transport, as you can see. And as members in the past have asked for the county council's IFS or infrastructure funding statement to be added, I've included that as well.
Thank you. Councillor Bell.
Yes, there's an awful lot in this report actually. I think it's really important. It's difficult, I think, at the end of a lot of labor to give it due justice. We used to have a working party looking at infrastructure stroke 106, whatever. I don't think that was ever formally disbanded. It just hasn't met up since then. I think I would really like that to be set up again so that we can look at this in detail and also hold the county also to account about monies that they hold that come from our developments and what's going to happen to them. I'd also like to see, and I know we can't anticipate always 106 payments for future developments, but it would, where we know there are going to be developments, we could have, I'm going to use the word shopping list, and that's not the right way, but we could have an idea of what we need in advance so that when these 106 discussions take place, we are really well informed about what we would like to get if we can. Depends on the funding available, etc. So there's a lot in this, Chairman. I would really like to see that working party set up. I think it's a plastic industry, I think, set up. Or reconvened might be the right way.
Thank you. Mr. Brown, can you remind us what happened to that working party?
It wasn't a formal working party. It was a group of members across the chamber to look at just basically 106 issues and 106 funding. And it has, I agree, it hasn't met this for over 12 months probably. Just to pick up on the point that Councillor Bell says, the infrastructure delivery programme, which is referred to in the report, which accompanied the local plan, does set out that matters which of infrastructure matters which would be sought. In particular on the housing allocations, that's already set out publicly and has to be taken into account. Much of this is led by the county, yes. And the education in particular is formula led, so we've got no input into that. The health authorities, I'm pleased to say, as we saw on the Roby's Lane applications, the Integrated Care Boards now are much more familiar with this and are looking at it as an overall approach rather than splitting the site up into bits and pieces. But they've moved a long way in looking at things strategically. In terms of recreation and amenity from our own point of view, then we have a supplementary planning document which clearly sets out how we're going to seek contributions. And the members will see from the previous reports that have come through on housing the contributions that the Leisure Division are asking for. Particularly, we had one last time on Church Farm Bantley, where a lot of money was coming in. So the supplementary planning document is there, to guide us. And in terms of affordable housing, again, there's a supplementary planning document. So there's not a lot in terms of additional information that we can put in front of members for the shopping list, if I put in inverted commas, that Councillor Bell is referring to, is already made public, Mr. Chairman.
Chairman, can I just say also, I understand, I seem to remember from the Hartsfield neighbourhood plan, there were also things in neighbourhood plans about what they would want to see if their developments took place. So might be an opportunity to revisit the relevant neighbourhood plans and see if there's anything relevant in there.
Members, any views? I mean, I don't think remitting this to a reconstituted working group would do us any harm. It would give everyone the opportunity to consider. I'm aware that the time and the fatigue that happens at the end of a long meeting. So, you know, I think there are issues that we need to look at. Councillor Ridley.
Yeah, just to sort of second what Councillor Bell said. It could be twofold. It could be looking at neighbourhood plans and looking at the aspirations like we talked about previously. And also, certainly since I've been a councillor, there certainly hasn't been any reviews of 106 months. So that's 2 years. So thank you.
Councillor Humphrey.
Yeah, I mean, I know that development in different parts of the county has moved at a different pace. I look here, North Warwick Borough Council, Nathaniel Newton, 240,000, Michael Drayton, 1.1 million. Rugby, I won't give the numbers because they're massive. New School Gateway Rugby, Long Lawford School, Paddocks Primary School, St Andrews School, St Matthew's School, Long Lawford Primary School, Brownsover expansion of 2 former entry infant school, Bilton School, Bournemore School. I mean, why are we bad at getting involved with what's going on? You know, I've got a school that needs expanding. We know Polesworth needs expanding. They go into Stratford District Council, Shipson Primary School, Stratford Academy, Bunting Nursery School, Bridgetown Primary School, St James's Classrooms Extension, Lighthorn Heath Primary School, Shipson High School. It goes on and on and on. And we've got 2 schools. And I do realise there's 128,000 people living in Stratford, and we've only got 65,000 here. Just seems a little bit tilted against our favour. That's a comment.
Thank you. Members, so I take it the recommendation, Councillor Bell, is that the report is noted and remitted to the reconstituted working party for them to consider it and report back. And Councillor Phillips, I think, given the passage of time, we probably need to find new members. So if you could consult within your group as well. Councillor Ridley, if you could consult this up.
Mr. Brown.
Mr. Brown, would you like to be part of this working group?
No, the recommendation is the statement has to be published, not noted. We have to publish this statement in December 24 or January 25. Otherwise, the government will be after us. It has to be published.
Well, that then. Who would ever wish to go against what the government requires? So we'll note it, publish it, and do it again.
Scrutiny.
And we're all happy with that. Yeah. Thank you. Can I see those in favour? And any against? Thank you very much. We now move on to Mr. Brown's report on the government's proposals for the reform of planning committees. Anything to add, Mr. Brown?
No, I think over to you, Mr. Chairman, the members of the board.
Oh, believe me, Mr. Brown, I have an awful lot that I would wish to add. Perhaps better saved for another day. So the suggestion is that we defer for a separate meeting for all members in order to discuss the issues raised. Members, you move that. Excellent. Second that, thank you very much. Members, you are saving yourselves from a diatribe from me on my concerns on what this is. But I'll just say, you know, I think there is merit in some of what we're going to try to achieve. I'd very much like them to take on board the views of members as well, because some of those things seem to you know, the report does say a lot of planning boards function very well. And I think that's certainly the case. There are always issues, but, you know, on page 201, it talks, fifth, a lack of transparency of committee decisions and their consequences. Especially if a committee refuses an application and there's a successful appeal. Members, my view is the lack of transparency there does not lie with us. It very much lies elsewhere. I think we are pretty transparent over when and how and why we do not grant planning consent. This authority, I think, Mr. Brown, you tell me if I'm wrong, we delegate to you already about 88–90% of decisions.
It's well over 90%, Mr. Chairman. The national figures, as I said, the report's 93–94%, so we equate with that.
So, members, if you're all happy, then we'll have a training session and go through all of this. I do think the thing I strongly support in here is mandatory training for members. I think that is well overdue and absolutely welcome now. I think that's a positive. But we can look at the whole if you're happy to do so. Yep. So all those in favour? Thank you very much. That's unanimous. We now, agenda item 10 is the general revenue budget and forecast for next year. Anything to add, Mr. Brown?
Nothing to add, Mr. Chairman.
Councillor Purvis?
Just to let you know, Chair, we'll be abstaining on the budgetary items because it's budgetary.
Absolutely. Thank you. I hope you've all noticed that Mr. Brown has visited the magic money tree and resolved all of those budgetary problems we had on the previous report. So well done, Mr. Brown. Give it another shake for us, if you wouldn't mind.
Maybe, Chair, in his new incantation, he could visit the finance centre, and we could in his spare time when he's spare retired, could work for finance.
Absolutely.
Yeah, shake that tree too.
Another 51 years time.
Easily.
So, members, are you all, unless anyone has any comments or changes, are you all happy to note the report?
No.
Those in favour? You're abstaining, Councillor. Sorry. Can we try that again?
Yeah.
All those in favour? And all those abstaining? Thank you very much. That's
Not the first.
There we go. It's getting late, Councillor. We now need to exclude members of the public and press. There's only one of him. So, members, I move that in order to, in accordance with section 100A for the Local Government Act 1972, that members of the public and press be excluded from the remaining items of business on the grounds they may involve the likely disclosure of exempt information as defined by section 12A of the Act. Those in favour? Unanimous, thank you. Agenda item 12, enforcement actions.